We're learning to love you better with Queenie Brown.
Hey ladies, it's me, Queenie Brown, and today's self-love lesson is all about how you receive correction. You know, as a child, many of us had our parents there to guide us and tell us what was right, tell us what was wrong, and once they told us what was wrong and we still did what was wrong, they had to come and correct us. And many of us, even to this day, still remember the way that our parents would correct us. And sometimes it was a positive experience and sometimes it wasn't. I can remember times when I was corrected as a child. There were some times when my mother was very kind and loving and just would say, you know, sweetie, this is how you do this. And then there's other times when I would forget to wash the dishes at night and she'd come and wake me up at 2 in the morning and get my butt in there to clean the kitchen. And so, you know, as a child, you never ever want to be corrected. You want to be able to do your own thing. You don't want anybody to ever stop you in your tracks from what it is you want to do. And, you know, as children, that's why we have parents, so that they can guide us and help us understand the things that we may be doing that may potentially cause us pain, may potentially cause us to hurt ourselves or hurt others, or just may hinder us in life. And so, as adults, who do we have in our lives that can bring correction? Of course, in a marriage situation, that generally tends to be the spouse. And it also can be your friends. You know, oftentimes I've had friends that would come to me for advice, or even family members that would come to me for advice. And unfortunately, I would have to say, you know you're wrong. You know, you want to be right. I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong, and you're just wrong. And so here's how we're going to deal with it. And of course, a lot of people have issues with the word wrong, and I get that, and we're going to talk about that a little later too. But the bottom line is, there has to be room in your life for someone to be able to say to you, you know what, you're on the wrong path. You're 1 degree off. You might need to rethink the things that you're doing. You might need to kind of draw back and take a look from a bigger perspective at what you're doing so that you can make a better choice that will be more beneficial for you in the long run, or maybe more beneficial for you and your family or your job. So we've got to keep our minds and our hearts open for correction and not take offense. The word offense, if you think about yourself, when you get offended, it's like you're putting a fence around you and preventing any kind of wisdom to come to you. Offense prevents progress. Offense prevents wisdom and understanding. It prevents growth. And so when you allow yourself to become offended, off-ended, it cuts off any blessing that could be on its way to you. And so instead of taking offense when someone corrects you, maybe you can just kind of breathe. I know it takes a moment, because sometimes people will say things to you that are kind of off, and it'll pierce your spirit, it'll pierce your heart. Maybe sometimes it'll just make you want to react. But take a moment, breathe, and think about, is there some truth in what it is they're saying to me, and do I need to make an adjustment? Doesn't mean I'm a bad person, doesn't mean I'm horrible and I don't do anything right. It just might mean that in this moment, I might need to make a different choice. And so we've got to learn to look at people who correct us as blessings rather than curses, or rather than people who are hurtful, because oftentimes that correction brings you into alignment with what you need to be focused on. And it also will bring out things in you that might need to be healed. Because if when someone corrects you and you automatically go into anger, you automatically go into bitterness and resentment, and you get all ugly inside, that's coming up for a reason. You might need to deal with that and acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I might have an anger issue, I might have a resentment or bitterness issue. These roots might be in me from previous, from childhood or from previous relationships, whatever the case may be. That thing, that stuff that comes up in you may be coming up to be healed. So allow yourself to be corrected. Allow yourself to be open. And of course, everyone that tries to bring correction to you is not going to be right, and that's okay. But the fact that you are taking a moment to judge what's going on and to maybe take yourself out of the situation and just look at it for what it is and say, you know what, maybe I should have taken the trash out. If I hadn't taken the trash out, maybe all these ants wouldn't be here, and now we have to spray everything and clean all the cabinets, and I caused this problem. Whoops, I blew it. Let's start over. It's okay to say, you know what, my bad. I apologize. And so I started this off by talking about taking correction, but there are more than one component. There are many components to understanding and being able to really embrace correction, and also being able to grow from it. Because the idea here is, as we go through life, we increase in wisdom, we increase in knowledge, and we go from one step of wisdom to the next step of wisdom to the next step of wisdom. But if you don't ever allow anyone to correct you, guess where you stay? Right here. And you never move. You just constantly do your own thing, and you never really get the blessings that have been laid aside for you. And that might be a blessing of relationship, because you feel offended, you cut that person out of your life, and now God can't bless you through that relationship. And you know that's how God blesses, through relationships. So anyway, the whole point here is love yourself enough to be corrected. Love yourself enough to not take offense. And love yourself enough to learn from the things that people bring to you that need to be adjusted. Anyway, that's today's self-love lesson. I'm Queenie Brown, and I'll be loving me. I pray that you'll be loving me.
You're learning to love you better with Queenie Brown.